The first Venom movie wasn't the dark, edgy take that I really wanted to see for this character, but what happens when you make a sequel putting him up against a serial killer? Stick around and I'll share my thoughts. I'm Paeter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. This is my uncut review of Venom, Let There Be Carnage. The synopsis on IMDb reads, Eddie Brock attempts to reignite his career by interviewing serial killer Cletus Cassidy, who becomes the host of the symbiote Carnage and escapes prison after a failed execution. All right, I did not really care for the first movie. You can check out my review on the Christian Geek Central YouTube channel to see why that was. Mainly, it was a tonal issue. I just didn't like the lighter tone that they went for, and so I was really curious what they were going to do with the sequel, knowing that Cletus Cassidy, Carnage, Cletus Cassidy is a serial killer, and just by nature, Carnage is a creature that's made out of kind of his blood, and so it's a more gory, bloody type of vibe to the character, and I wondered, is that going to turn the tone, shift it into more of the dark, kind of edgy flavor that I wanted to see more of in that first movie? And I really don't think that happened. I mean, that wasn't my experience. I found it to be a real contrasted mix of tones. The visual designs in the movie and a lot of the scenes which take place during nighttime are very dark. The design of Venom as a creature and Carnage, very dark and weird and I mean, I don't want to say gory, but there's just a very sinister vibe to the visual design of those creatures. But the tone of the writing, the dialogue, a lot of the story is very light and comedic throughout. This pretty much ruined the experience for me. Joke after joke after joke just kept me from connecting with characters that I think I was supposed to be caring about, and kept me from being afraid or intimidated by characters that I feel like I'm supposed to fear, or at least feel like they're a threat. There are lots of CGI visual gags and plenty of action, so it's not like this kind of slow experience. If you want that, then you can get that watching this. Although the gags and the action all kind of blend together because tonally they're not that far away from each other, and so I just didn't find myself taking any of the action seriously, despite there being a lot of visual effects and stuff going on. As far as the cast goes, Tom Hardy, I think he's doing the voice of Venom. I'm almost sure that he is. I'm not sure if Woody Harrelson was likewise doing the voice of Carnage, but I'm almost certain that Tom Hardy's doing the voice of Venom. In any case, I figured out while I was watching this movie that the voice of Venom is a major reason that I disconnect. It's a very kind of cartoonish type of monstrous. It has this very monstrous kind of sound, but it's a cartoonish, almost Saturday morning comedic type of monster. And I would probably laugh at a lot of these jokes that are in the script if the Venom voice were genuinely dark and menacing. Genuinely disturbing, because then there would be this great contrast between that genuinely disturbing sounding voice and the humorous dialogue that he's saying, so I think that contrast would make it funny to me. As it is, with both the ridiculous things that he says and the cartoony voice, the humor feels overstated to me, and so I don't find it funny. Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock, though, continues to be sympathetic to me in some ways, so I really do appreciate his performance as Eddie Brock, even though I'm not into the Venom voice approach. Woody Harrelson's Cletus Cassidy is clearly psychotic, but not at all disturbing to me, which I think Harrelson could really be. When I learned in the post-credit scene of the first movie, they're casting Woody Harrelson, I think there had even been kind of like buzz and like that was dream casting among fans, like, we'd love to see Woody Harrelson as this character. And so I think that's been something fans have been interested in seeing for a long time, and I think I liked the idea too, but the tone that he went with was not what I wanted. It was a little bit more on the comedic side or the ridiculous side of kind of like the tones that Harrelson can do, compared to some of the more genuinely dark and disturbing kind of tones that he can also do. So, it just did not serve to serve my experience. As far as the stunts and visuals go, as I kind of already suggested, lots of CG that looks like CG. It especially moves like CG. I noticed that Venom and Carnage move in ways that feel animated to me rather than real creatures. And so I don't know what their approach was, but it felt very animated as opposed to motion captured. And I feel like that really has been, for the last 10, 20 years, the thing that most takes me out of CG creatures is something about the way they move. They can texture the crap out of them, and in still shots, they can look indistinguishable from physical objects in the environment. But the way they move still so often looks kind of cartoony or animated to me, and that just kind of takes me out, and I just felt that was the case a lot in this movie as well. But your mileage is going to vary. I do seem to have cursed eyes in that regard. As far as themes, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on here that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? I don't know, maybe. Nothing that I picked up on, because I just couldn't wait for the movie to be over, unfortunately. Now, I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, oh, this one it's not as cut and dry as, I want to say Skip, but there is a post-credit scene that strongly suggests that Venom will either be in the upcoming Spider-Man movie or will be in a shared universe with the Tom, what's this name? Is it Hardy? It's not Tom Hardy. Whatever there are two Toms. We got Tom Hardy in this one. Tom Holland. That's right. Oh man, that's weird. But it looks like they're going to be in a shared universe going forward. That's very much suggested by the post-credit scene. And Paeter, you're very invested in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, and so for that reason and that reason alone, you may want to watch both of these Venom movies at some point for background knowledge of this movie version of this character, maybe even before you see Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't know. But for all your other Venom needs, Paeter, go back to the source material in the comics, or probably anything else that he's been reinterpreted, and this sequel was not the tonal course correction that you hoped it would be. As a side note, I have to say, it's going to be very interesting to see how this character feels tonally if he does appear in a Spider-Man movie. So I will be leaning forward in anticipation to see if that is the case. This one's rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence and action and some strong language, disturbing material, and suggestive references. And those are all my thoughts for now on Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, and click that bell to stay connected. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. For more info about the benefits of being an insider, go to patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Then I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth.